Steven Seagal, the Hollywood warrior who rewrote the rules, and reality too. There is a man who has defeated dozens of enemies without ever losing his breath. There is an actor who has conquered Hollywood without smiling. A warrior, a master, a legend. But also, a character on the edge of surrealism. This is the story of Steven Seagal, the last samurai in America, the king of action movies, and perhaps the strangest hero that cinema has ever created. Make yourselves comfortable, because this is a legend that you have never heard told like this. Steven Frederick Seagal was born on April 10, 1952 in Lansing, Michigan, United States. But since he was a child, he felt different. While other kids play baseball or collect trading cards, Steven takes refuge in dojos. At just 7 years old, he becomes passionate about martial arts and begins studying karate. But it was Aikido, an elegant and fluid Japanese martial art, that changed his life. His father, Samuel Seagal, was a math teacher. His mother, Patricia, was a medical assistant with Irish and Native American origins, and it is precisely from this latter side that Steven will begin to build that deep, mystical, sometimes too romanticized spirituality. The family moved to California, where Steven further refined his passion for the East. He was an introverted, curious teenager, and in his own words, gifted with a natural connection with universal energy. But here the first myths began. Steven claims to have lived in Japan for 15 years, becoming the first Westerner to open an Aikido dojo in Osaka. In reality, many sources speak of much shorter stays. But you know, with Steven Seagal the legend always comes before reality. It is the late 80s. The music is rock, the jackets are baggy, and Steven Seagal is 36 years old. Until then, he has lived between Japan, California, and his own universe of myths. He has worked as a bodyguard for famous stars, including Sean Connery, and even as a private martial arts instructor for James Coburn, Michael Ovitz, and other Hollywood bigwigs. But it is Ovitz, the powerful agent of the Creative Artists Agency, who notices something in him. He is not like the others. He is not muscular like Stallone. He is not ironic like Schwarzenegger. But he has a presence. He is serious, cold, lethal. And so, bam! In 1988, Steven Seagal made his debut as a leading actor in Nico, Above the Law. A film that mixes martial arts, politics, corruption, the CIA, and personal revenge, all seasoned with a deadpan Seagal, dressed in black, who takes down each opponent with soft, almost dancing movements. The audience loves him. He never laughs. He never sweats. He never bleeds. Steven Seagal is different. He is the man who eliminates you with a wrist wrench and looks at you as if you were the last idiot on the planet. More successes follow. Hard to Kill, where he wakes up from a coma and seeks revenge. Marked for Death, against a gang of Jamaican drug dealers. Justice at All Costs Out for Justice, where he becomes the nightmare of the Brooklyn mob. Every film has one thing in common. Steven is invincible, implacable, annoyed by everything and everyone. And the audience goes crazy. In an era in which action heroes are gigantic and muscular, Seagal brings to the screen a serious, almost mystical warrior. No jokes. No smiles. Just hands that break, eyes that flash, and the air of a prophet of justice. Steven Seagal was not just any actor who worked his way up through auditions and minor roles. No. He arrived in Hollywood with a mysterious, almost mythical aura. An urban legend says that he was the first Westerner to open an Aikido dojo in Osaka, Japan. And although this version has often been questioned, one thing is certain: Seagal really knew the art of fighting. And not just pretending. His style was not spectacular like The Decline and the Mutation. After Rocky Mountain Spotlight. 1995. Something breaks. Budgets drop, productions become more modest, and little by little Seagal ends up in the direct-to-video film circuit. Low-budget films, often shot in Eastern countries, with hastily written scripts, and Seagal increasingly distant both physically and emotionally from his audience. And yet he continues. He doesn't give up. He makes dozens of films, some practically unknown, others become memes. But he remains there, like a rock. Motionless, impassive, with his low voice and his slow but lethal blows. The problem? Many people start to not believe him anymore. The controversies. And here, dear friend, the real trouble begins. The shadows. The gossip. The accusations. Steven Seagal is involved in numerous controversies. Accusations of harassment on the set, arrogant behavior, tense relationships with colleagues, even suspected links with controversial regimes. He is often described as self-centered, difficult, almost untouchable on set. It is said that he requested a body double to walk. Yes, to walk. In the meantime, his political sympathies put him in the spotlight. He became a Russian citizen in 2016, personally receiving his passport from Vladimir Putin. A gesture that created a stir. Some see him as a traitor, others as an over-the-top character, consistent only with himself. But who is Steven Seagal, really? Is he an action hero? A charlatan? A mystic? A patriot? An oversized ego, or a man too ahead of his time? Maybe he is all of these. Or maybe he is simply Steven Seagal. A character who, for better or for worse, has left an indelible mark on pop culture. Seagal today, between myth, meme, and mystery. Steven Seagal is no longer the action star who dominates the box office, nor the young sensei who enchanted with movements as precise as blades. And yet, his name has never really disappeared. In fact, we could say that Seagal has found a second life. And this time, it is all cultural. The impact on pop culture. His way of walking, his impassive gaze, the fact that he is never hit in the movies, have become perfect material for memes, imitations, and parodies. YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, everywhere there are clips that portray him as an almost mythological character. A man who fights without moving a muscle. A hero from another time, stuck in a legend that tells itself. There are entire pages dedicated to how strong Seagal is, obviously in an ironic tone, that put him on the same level as Chuck Norris in the famous memes. Some consider him a joke. Others, a symbol of the extreme alpha male, the last of the samurai made in the USA. But be careful, behind the laughter, there is respect. Because Seagal represented an era. That of action films without CGI, where people really fought. Where the stunts were real, and the hero was a tough guy, not a superhero in a costume. A man above or beyond the system. Seagal has become, against his will or by choice, a figure above the rules of Hollywood. He lives in a universe all his own, where he shoots independent films, deals with geopolitical issues, declares himself an expert on weapons, spirituality, international security. He is ambassador to Russia, has been part of the police force in America, has held seminars on Buddhism, has supported alternative theories on health and nutrition. In short, he is no longer an actor. He is an archetype. An icon out of time, out of place, and for this very reason, immortal. The legend continues. Steven Seagal is one of those characters that cannot be described with words alone. You have to see them. You have to feel them. Because more than a man, he is an enigma. A protagonist of an infinite film, where he is always the same, imperturbable, profound, perhaps ridiculous, perhaps brilliant. But always true to himself. In a world where everything changes, where stars come and go, Seagal remains. With his black kimonos, his dark glasses even at night, and his low voice that seems to have come out of a sacred cave. And perhaps, in the end, this is precisely his true triumph, having become a legend, without ever really changing. If this video made you smile, think or simply say, "Come on, did Seagal really do this?" Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share it with someone who remembers how tough 90s movies were. Because the most absurd stories are also the ones worth telling.